This isn't any regular heat. This is nuclear heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bakovic.
Yes, we are glad to be with you here on a Sunday evening to talk some wrestling, some pro wrestling here on 93.7 The Ticket. This is our show. We do it every Sunday at 9, from 9 to 10, so thanks for joining us. Tell us your friends about us if they are indeed into pro wrestling. We usually do a WWE Week in Review. That's what we will do this week as well. I was just talking about it here with Augie, my tag team partner, Nuclear Heat contributor Augie Pena, that our predictions last week did not go well. And for that, I thank you, WWE, because we were kind of predicting a lot of kind of what they had been running, the similar programming. They made some switches this year as we head into 2026. They kind of promoted as that, right? It was going to be the year 1 year on Netflix for Raw and then SmackDown. So we've had both of the big titles as the main events for Raw and SmackDown. And certainly we'll get through these on each individual matches. There were other title changes that happened. It does feel like, and Triple H said it, a new era. But wrestling promoters say that every other week, so it's hard to necessarily believe that. But it does open up a lot as we head into WrestleMania season as well about what they're going to narrow down for their kind of main events there. So lots to talk about. Great week. Again, as wrestling fans, we have to admit, not every segment, not every show is going to be great to try to get some people interested in. But I do think this week was just really fantastic weekly programming. So it's hard to argue with. So we'll get into it, review Raw and SmackDown, but I don't want to bury the lead. So we'll start with the SmackDown main event, which was Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. Of course, this was 3 stages of hell and no commercials. So thanks to the broadcast partners for putting that on for us. It's interesting because we made the joke last week, 3 stages of hell. The first stage of hell is a normal match. So I thought that was kind of funny. But Drew McIntyre let it be known that with that, his idea in doing that was to try to get Cody Rhodes to attack him, do something to get himself disqualified in what would be a normal match sort of way. And of course, Drew McIntyre entered this deal with burning up, Cody Rhodes' father, Dusty Rhodes, a picture and getting his watch and all this sort of stuff. So he was trying to get Cody Rhodes on edge. And by the way, how about I don't know. First of all, I'll start with this, Augie. I don't know if you're a big Disturbed fan, but how about the promo they put together? It felt like we were back in, mid 2000s watching a promo again. It was fantastic for what, not at always is the most serious of content, but they tried to make it that way with Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. So I thought the promo they put on made me feel nostalgic, if nothing else.
Oh yeah, 100% is great throwback, because that, that type of music, and that was kind of what we grew up on, right? The 90s and the 2000s. So anytime they can throw it back to that, I think it's a little bit better than the Travis Scott music or something like that they always keep playing there in the background.
So yeah, they started off with this 3 stages of hell. Of course, the backdrop of this, and we've talked about it with Drew McIntyre all along, this felt like kind of a filler feud that they're, maybe boiling toward a blood feud at some point. But it's like, all right, well, who's going to be the one to take down Cody Rhodes if they basically fed all the biggest titans of the industry to him over the last several years? And it hasn't been one long continuous run, granted, but it just didn't feel like they viewed Drew McIntyre in a place where he was going to actually win this thing. And that's what is the reason why we're talking about it now, because ultimately he does. Again, he was able to win the first stage of hell by distracting the ref with a loose turnbuckle and then hitting a low blow, followed by a claymore to get the win there. Rhodes and McIntyre then battled throughout the arena for this false count anywhere portion of their match. Rhodes hit a splash from above an entrance there in the building. McIntyre through the table. That was a really good spot, which, man, I just thought of when I was thinking about it, watching as Cody did it, man, I hope he patted his knees because the way he did it, and he was getting some crap online too, is he's very robotic in kind of his splash there, if you will. But man, sometimes it is tough to tell when you're doing spots like that what are they selling and what is actually hurting them. That looked like it could be a tough spill. In any case, Rhodes was able to also put McIntyre through the announcer's table to win the second fall. So we went to the steel cage for the final stage of Hell here. And that was where they put on a show. I mean, they each hit their finishers. I mean, we had several near falls, lasted about 15 minutes. Again, this was about an hour long, this 3 stages of Hell match. And then the one problem that you have with the steel cage, and we'll talk about this separately from the characters, is I still don't know why they have the out that you can just go over to the side and ask the referee to open the door and you can get out. That doesn't, that just feels silly. I think over the years, there's certain guys that would have trouble getting over the, climbing over and all that, but that's the point, so I still think that's kind of silly, especially when you want to make it your third stage of Hell. But anyways, McIntyre was about to exit, just by asking Baby Nate over there, the old referee over there, Charles Robinson, to open the door. That is when we had Triple H's favorite character, a hooded man in all black, show up. This time, the hood came off, and it was Jacob Fatu, of course, who had been written off screen because he had got attacked backstage several months ago. So he ended up stopping Drew McIntyre from getting out. The problem is once he got in there, he started decking Cody too. McIntyre realized this and was able to get out the door and win the WWE Championship. And then from there, Cody Rhodes was not happy, so he attacked Jacob Fatu. And all of this with the backdrop, by the way, that Nick Aldis said there are going to be 4 qualifying matches with the winners fighting at the number 1 contenders match at Saturday night's main event. Not this Saturday, but the next Saturday, in able to take on the WWE champion in a match there at Royal Rumble. So it's interesting because now you've got Rhodes and certainly Jacob Fatu seemingly right there would be competition, but they've got this tournament already decided. They're not in it. So a lot of different creative ways to go. Again, by the way, in that tournament, Randy Orton versus The Miz, Matt Cardona versus Trick Williams, Damian Priest versus Solo Sikoa, and Sami Zayn versus Ilya Dragunov. So some fresh kind of names entering the mix, some other ones that would make sense with Drew McIntyre. But ultimately, it's a bit of a new age, and it might be a transitional champ. I mean, this all might kind of come back to Cody Rhodes winning the Royal Rumble and avenging himself at WrestleMania. So don't be too happy to celebrate if you were kind of getting tired of the Cody Rhodes act. This might be all to set him up to win it once again. But very, very important and big opportunity here for Drew McIntyre, who many wrestling fans have felt for over the years, because his rise, his prime of his career, of course, was when he eliminated Brock Lesnar from the Royal Rumble, and it was on. It was going to be him. And then, of course, COVID happened. And so his kind of big moment was in front of nobody at WrestleMania. And over the years since then, has won the title a few times. Sometimes it lasts about 10 minutes, even less than that. And so I don't know if this is going to be a long-term type of deal, but I absolutely love it, because we've talked about it over the years too. Augie, is that I think Drew McIntyre is one of the best wrestlers today, as far as in-ring, as far as believability, as far as acting, his promo skills. I mean, and they have his character usually come at it from a way that, yes, he's the heel, but you can kind of understand where he's coming from. So altogether, I mean, he's one of the best characters they had. We'd been talking about it. He felt kind of stale because he'd kind of been run through as the guy that challenges and is kind of in these filler feuds, but not going to win them. And he takes the gold here.
Yeah, and I think it was, a fantastic move by the WWE, as you said. We both were like, if they, what's the point of this feud, right? Because Drew McIntyre has lost to Cody like 15 times. Exaggeration, but that's what it feels like there. And it makes sense, because for the longest time, I mean, WWE normally likes to have one heel, one, babyface champion, and they've had, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes as champs. So now, and that's also like just, perfect, because you have Drew McIntyre and CM Punk now as champions at the same time. I'm wondering if, we'll see one of them kind of come to another show and just talk about that. But yeah, I think it was great. And then just Cody Rhodes, we've been talking, you nailed it. They've fed everybody to him. He's beaten everybody. He's, kind of been the guy shoved, down our throats in a way. He's their golden boy. And to see him lose, he didn't get pinned or anything. He lost because of an interference, but still, to take the gold away from him and then not have him even in, that tournament, my first thought also was great. He's going to win the Royal Rumble now, or, something like that. And then
he might.
and, but he won it, what, back-to-back years?
Yeah.
Right. And I remember that second year, we were like, all right, they did too much now. That's too much. But
well, was it the second year? I mean, there was that one year where they all but told you going in. They he was the only one they would do the promo on over and over on. And it was like, all right, well, he's going to win the Rumble. And he did.
Yeah. And then I think he won the next one, right after. Yeah. And that one, you can kind of see it coming too again on that. But also another thing, I totally forgot they're over in Germany right now. So I got Drew McIntyre winning spoiled because Drew McIntyre himself posted on Instagram a picture of him with the WWE Championship. And I was like, no, Drew. I was like, SmackDown hasn't started in the States here. And, it was like an hour before SmackDown, right? Aired here. And of course, I was like, oh, all the comments were like, he deserved it. I was like, no. I was like, they ruined it. Because, we work real jobs, so we don't always have the opportunity to watch it during the day. So that's one thing I kind of forgot about and maybe should have been a little bit more aware of. But I hope they have Drew at least still WrestleMania. I think he can be a fine WrestleMania champion. And if you want Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre again, that's fine. But also, to me, just as long as it doesn't go back to Cody Rhodes right away, I think that this will be a good job and a good opportunity for them to write a great story with Drew. Like you said, been kind of very stale and everything. Well, have him be that champ we didn't really get to see, during the COVID time. Have him be, the brutal guy, the guy that, just goes out and actually wins matches and doesn't just complain about it. Now he's actually got a title. He's got the belt. And, if the cards be it, can you imagine a Royal Rumble match for the WWE Championship between Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre? I think that'd be phenomenal.
I think that could be too, and that's what's exciting. Again, his character. The only reason it starts to get stale, and like I said, he's got everything that you need: his acting and his in-ring performance and mic skills, all that sort of stuff. It's just eventually the guy that continues to talk trash and doesn't quite win. Eventually, it starts to fall on deaf ears. Right now that he's got the belt behind him. Now those words are going to have a little bit more meaning to them. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Again, I think he's fantastic. I think he's fine, right? And the difference, I suppose, between his first run and now, his character got stale as a face too. There was a time when it was really exciting, but after a while, it did kind of got stale, and that's kind of made him kind of turn in this. And he's been heel for years now because he does such great heel work. So I'm excited to see heel Drew McIntyre make this run, but it does open up all sorts of questions. Like you said, I mean, when you look at it, and with all due respect to all the other names, I mentioned that Randy Orton is going to take on The Miz, Matt Cardona and Trick Williams, Damian Priest and Solo Sikoa and Sami Zayn and Ilya Dragunov. All those other names, I don't think are necessarily WrestleMania champion names, right? And so whoever's going to win that likely going to take that on to WrestleMania. So it's just interesting to see where they switch it. Now, if they go with Orton, then you could make that switch. And then you might have Orton and Cody at Mania, like we've been kind of talking about. But then somebody would have to turn heel out of those two, and that has a potential of happening because I don't know. Is Cody and Jacob Fatu now going to collide because they're kind of without, they're out of this tournament. They can't get in. Maybe they're going to force themselves kind of into the championship discussion. That will be interesting. But if Cody and Jacob Fatu collide, I mean, we heard it with the granted overseas crowd. But there were some pretty anti-Cody cheers throughout this match. People are looking for maybe a turn from Cody at some point. Now, the other idea that's definitely been heavily expected at WrestleMania is Cody Rhodes in Roman Reigns Part 3. And that's what I'm particularly interested in too, because you could potentially have that without a belt. Maybe that takes away from it a little bit. The first two matches have been for the belt, but a belt can usually kind of prop up a feud that needs it a little bit more. If you've got one with the star power and the history behind it that Cody and Roman already do, maybe you don't need the belt there. And maybe that's why they're pivoting to Drew to get something kind of going in a separate feud for him.
Yeah, and that makes total sense because I've seen, quote unquote, the leaked scripts for for the Royal Rumble. Like they always come out.
Yeah.
And I think everybody predicted it was either going to be Gunther or Roman Reigns, right? Because if Gunther wins, it makes sense with the whole John Cena thing. But Roman Reigns to face Cody. But now that Cody has lost, that makes a lot of sense there. And I'm fine seeing a Cody Roman at WrestleMania. They put on great matches, right? But you're right. It doesn't have to be for the belt. And I mean, Roman Reigns has co-main evented the last like 8 WrestleManias, and Cody Rhodes the last 4 or whatever it is. So, you have your big names there, but you kind of like to see other people at the same time. And, speaking of it, I would say, kind of going back to the first part of it where the Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, one of them turning heel or babyface, I would be fine if both of them were just heels and just, we're just beating the crap out of each other, right? I mean, I think that'd be a lot of fun to kind of see them, I don't know what Randy Orton's kind of going through. He's attacking people, but he's still like joking and friendly. Like he attacked Trick Williams, right? And then Ray Phoenix came out and he was like, pin him, beat, and like all happy. And so you're like, you kind of got this half and half Orton, who's out there just RKOing everybody, but he's still friendly. And then Drew, of course, being the heel. So I don't know. I think you could have fun with both of them kind of, being their true heel characters, because I think that's what both of them are best at. And this is obviously a pipe dream. Randy Orton's got to win, and WWE doesn't like to give us what we want all the time, right? So can't really go there. But as for Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu, I mean, that could be a fun, little, I don't know, because Jacob Fatu seems to now have beef with everybody. Because, originally with Drew McIntyre, because when I think they were saying Drew was a suspect, right, of when Jacob came out or got hurt. So that made sense. And then he just attacked Cody. So I don't know where they'll go on that one. Both of them can kind of go anywhere, because before the Drew and Cody match, everybody was backstage saying, I want a shot at the title. I want a shot. And everybody thought it was, they're going after Cody. And now that it's Drew McIntyre, to me, that kind of flips it a little bit, right? Because Damian Priest makes a lot of sense. I don't want to see it, but they had like a yearly long feud that didn't need to last that long. So they at least had something there. And with Cody and Jacob, I think, it could be good, but you kind of feel for Jacob because it feels like Cody's now going to be on a redemption arc for that title. So you don't think he would lose that first feud.
Yeah, it would be definitely interesting. That's when wrestling's the most interesting, when either character really can't afford it. And so, like this, you find ways to write an ending that still kind of protects Cody, still, gives Drew the belt, and certainly adds interest to Jacob Fatu here. And so, I mean, I think Jacob Fatu's fantastic. I'm so glad he's back to wrestling, because he was getting a big kind of movement, and then this injury happened. He's just one of those guys that he looks intimidating, right? There's guys that you have to like put up makeup or find different ways. Like he just is a walking intimidating guy, so you don't have to do anything special to make that look the case. And then his athleticism for how big he is just incredible. I gotta ask you one more time, hooded masked man, was that the way to go? I mean, I think they've done that 4 times over the last calendar year. You think of the Becky Lynch's, obviously Austin Theory, the Usos have done it numerous times over the last several years. And it's always a good surprise, right? That you're waiting to see what it is, but they're really, it's like we were saying about WWE with the brawls, the big brawls right before the premium live event. If you do it with every feud, it kind of takes away from the moment when it happens. It's starting to be, they're leaning on that a little bit.
Yeah, see, to me, it like the Austin Theory, I think makes sense because you're not going to reveal who it is. But the fact that every masked person reveal that before they attack somebody, that's it. They take off their mask. You're like, okay, they could have just came in as their character. You're giving us suspense for 30 seconds. Who is it? Everybody and their mom could tell this was Jacob Fatu. I don't remember if it was like there was something, but you could tell. This was Jacob Fatu. You can kind of tell that was Austin Theory. You could for sure tell that was Becky Lynch. The Usos every time. They're not really surprising anybody with it. So no, I've never really been a huge fan of it. Like I said, I'd get it if they wouldn't show us who it was. It's somebody that kept attacking for a month or so. But we end up finding out who it is 30 seconds later. So they could probably put that one to rest.
Yeah, and it was the reveal for to stop him at the gate. So I get it, but you could write it a little bit differently. If you just have them both laying down there and then Fatu's music hit, it would be just as bit like being, oh my goodness, Jacob Fatu's back. And so, different type of ways to get there. But either way, I'm not going to complain. A little tiny complaint there in something that I'm very happy to see. Once again, one of my favorite heels, and I'm a big fan of heels, Drew McIntyre. Finally, they give him the belt, and we'll see. Maybe this time it'll last longer than a few minutes. but no promises there. All right, let's jump to some of the other storylines. In fact, we'll start with Raw as we get into it. This will definitely bleed over into the second segment, but I did want to get into that. Of course, again, 1 year on Netflix. This time, Raw, we had kind of a Stranger Things theme going on. Probably a lot of stuff over my head. I haven't watched Stranger Things. I know, how dare me, but it is what it is. No Raw is Jericho, which a lot of people were hoping for, but maybe that means Jericho could return for Royal Rumble.
Yep,
It is my hope.
That's what I want. We talked about it last week. You were like, is he coming back? I'm like, I hope not. I hope if he comes back for the Royal Rumble, and also isn't he like 54 years old?
He's up there. Yeah.
He's a little bit up there, but the break the walls, the YT. If that hits at the Royal Rumble, that's guaranteed. It'll come back as a. I think his other returns have always been like they're in top 10 Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
You just add this one again, and I think that'd be the best way to bring him back.
Yeah, that is the hope. I'd love to see Chris Jericho back in the WWE. They opened up the 1 year on Netflix here with the women's tag team match between Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, one team, Rio, against the Kabuki Warriors. And this is a back and forth battle, a bit of a back and forth feud. I mean, these women have worked together, obviously Io Sky and the Kabuki Warriors closer, as teammates for a long time. But this is why, there's great in-ring chemistry you could see here. The Kabuki Warriors nearly scored the win on an insane elbow, but Io Sky broke up that pin. Later, we had Rhea Ripley take down Asuka with Riptide, and then we had Io Sky add her over the moonsault for the win and the titles. So Rio are the new champs with many potential challengers, and people are saying, again, we've talked about it, what they've done with the women's tag team match over the years, and then here recently. Over the years, it's kind of gotten, pushed to the wayside. Now, I mean, you've got two of your biggest singles acts as a team here with the belts and plenty of great teams competing for it. So there are people that are arguing this is the best the women's tag division has ever been.
Yeah, and that, I would say when Sasha Banks and Naomi had it,
Yeah.
I think it was pretty strong there as well. But this is up there, like you said. I know I let it known that I'm a little tired of the whole Rhea and Io thing, but you can't deny everybody still goes crazy for Rhea here. And I thought this was a great match, a great way to start it off on there. And, Asuka is probably going to go down as one of the best, competitors as well. So, you have all them together and, that does bring something to it. And now, two of your top stars have the belt, and that's, something you can get behind.
Well, it is, and people are happy, like you said. You might be over the tag team a little bit yourself, but I think they're generally popular. They just, I feel like they've got to take a next step, and I don't know what it is, because to your kind of complaints there, they're just kind of like friends that hug and then go out there and fight, and that's great. But they're what's their team dynamic, right? And so I think if they could take a next step, maybe in kind of working with that. I don't know if they're going to do that for the longest time. I don't think neither of these characters necessarily need a heel turn or anything like that. So, I don't know. It doesn't seem like that's necessarily coming. Sometimes that's when they got you in the best position, when they can surprise you there. But it seems like this could be a team that sticks around for a while, at least until WrestleMania, where I would expect that, there to be, I mean, with all the women's that the division or tag division, how it is, I would expect to have multiple teams there, but we'll see. I mean, there's a lot they can do with this potential in the future.
Yeah, and it's something because we talk about the Raw roster is stacked, right? That's the side that has it. So Rhea Ripley is probably your top star still, even though I know she's not the champ or whatever. But she's probably your biggest draw. So having her in the tag team championship picture is good to have her going into WrestleMania somewhere like that. As long as they don't do another swerve like last year where she drops the title, a month before WrestleMania, and then she becomes a challenger again there. But man, can you imagine all these teams that have been vying for the tag team champs if they do like a ladder match at WrestleMania? I think that'd be a lot of fun.
And of course, maybe we are getting a little set ahead of ourselves with the Drew McIntyre stuff. It does get your head spinning for WrestleMania. I suppose there is a lot of time between now and then for the Duke to do a lot, and they're going to want to change titles. Of course, Elimination Chamber and Royal Rumble and Saturday Night Main Events and stuff like that to kind of get going. So maybe it won't last quite that long, but it's a fresh team at the top with already well established stars. So they almost can't go wrong here. So that will be exciting. Quickly before we get to break, I did want to get into the Gunther promo. Gunther did come out again. General Manager Adam Pearce suggested to Gunther, show a little bit of respect out there tonight. Gunther laughed that off and entered with a tap like a B word t-shirt going on out there. AJ Styles comes out, gets a big pop from the crowd, ends up slapping Gunther and tells him he's not going to do anything. Styles and Gunther then meet with Pearce in the back, and they set up for a match for this week, tomorrow in Germany. So kind of a short build, but maybe another one that Gunther can add to his list. In my mind, maybe you're going to start a feud a little bit here. It is interesting though, because you've got Styles, who already said he's going to retire. You've got Gunther, who's already retired Goldberg and John Cena. It feels like this is, this very well, you could add this to the list, but AJ Styles pretty much announced that he was just going to retire. So don't we have a whole year left of him?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, whenever his contract ends, right? I think he said this was his last year. So his last WrestleMania, though, could be something. And I guess that's where they're going to go with Gunther is after AJ Styles. It's probably going to be Rey Mysterio, because they've kind of had a little bit of interaction. Then R-Truth, he's just going to start retiring all these there. But yeah, I think, AJ Styles is still great, what he does. And Gunther's not from Germany, right? I think he's Austrian.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I don't remember where that is, but I know, from over there. So, he's not going to lose this one. Or at least he shouldn't, especially after what he did to John Cena there, and kind of all the heat he has now. So still, a good little feud, and maybe it'll go one or two matches here, but I think this is kind of just a filler for Gunther before he gets to somewhere bigger.
But it is at least good news for me, because they've been, again, you're kind of relying off the heat. We talked about it last week too. And it continued in here, and you didn't have a match, but at least it moved it finally to what we'll see Gunther in his first match post retiring John Cena. And so you can kind of see, is the heat still there? And I think they're going to do everything they can to keep it there and add to it. So I don't think this is going to end well for AJ Styles, though Monday night could again go well, maybe to kind of set up a feud. Yeah. But I like you said, I don't think Gunther's going to lose this feud. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We've got plenty more to talk about on Raw and SmackDown here on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas, and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
And electrical.
Graham Tire presents life's greatest adventures.
Okay, take the worm, put it on the hook. Now bring your pole back and throw it forward. And just let the fish come to you.
I got a bite! It's a big one, Dad!
Great road trips start with great service. Graham Tire, your tire store next door, with 5 convenient Lincoln locations, getting you to the places that matter most.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins'. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
MWR, a local company of Lincoln, is proud to announce they are able to offer their own post-frame building packages in metal to anyone desiring a building, whether you're a contractor or a DIYer. They can install your building as always, and they offer multiple different rib profiles and loads of color options, including the wood grain metal at great competitive prices. You can inquire at mwrbuildingandfence.com or just draw your desired building and submit it in their contact us page, and they'll get back to you. Call MWR today at 402-540-8966.
Back Nine Golf in South Lincoln is the premier indoor golf experience in the state. The weather in the winter months is cold, windy, and as unpredictable as a tee shot on the 450-yard par 4. With top-of-the-line full-swing simulators and a PGA teaching professional, Back Nine Golf is there to help you improve your game and lower your score. Back Nine Golf is open to the public with 24/7 access for members. Learn about Back Nine's variety of memberships today and see the facility for yourself at 7501 South 15th Street in Lincoln, just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Back Nine Golf, your premier indoor golf and events destination.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Nuclear Heat here at 93.7 The Ticket, WWE Week in Review. We've got to get moving here through Raw and SmackDown, because remember, SmackDown is 3 hours now, so plenty of content there. Of course, we spent a lot of the first segment talking about the biggest news in the WWE this past week, which was Drew McIntyre defeating Cody Rhodes in the 3 stages of Hell match to become the new WWE champion. So big deal there. And again, if you want to get our thoughts on that, you can head back to the first segment. But we've got to move on through Raw here as we were kind of reviewing what was going on there. We stopped out at the Women's Intercontinental Championship match between Maxine Dupree and Becky Lynch. This was, of course, a story that's long been told. Of course, Maxine Dupree, despite being the champion, kind of the underdog going up against the veteran Becky Lynch. But I think she's beat her, 3 times now going into this one. We had a lot of reversals going on in this match as well, as kind of the story was Dupree was trying to get to the ankle lock. And again, very good chemistry. It is amazing to see how Maxine Dupree has kind of risen her game since working with Becky Lynch, so that helped in this match as well. She did get one ankle lock in finally, but this time Becky Lynch was able to roll out of the hold and grab the bottom rope to go ahead and get the pin and the victory and the Intercontinental Championship. So it is interesting. You could call it one of the biggest upsets, especially of this past year, was Maxine Dupree beating Becky Lynch. Now Becky Lynch has the belt. Short title run for Maxine Dupree, definitely puts her character over, something very memorable. We'll see what it means as far as where she is a year from now. I'm still kind of worried, is this enough of kind of the rub to move her on in her career? Maybe she wins it back from Becky Lynch. But I've said it all along, Becky Lynch has been fantastic for the Intercontinental Championship, which of course they introduced at the same time as the United States Championship on the women's side, and really, again, made it a lot more interesting than what they've done with that other belt. And I think Lynch is a big reason for that. So I have no problem. The heat that she gets right now as being the greatest women's wrestler of all time, according to Sports Illustrated and others, is fantastic. I think once again for this belt, great story. I mean, the feud's been good. I'm not sure that it's over at this point. But I think it can be worth going off into this path that we have to kind of raise somebody up. But I still think this, Becky Lynch on TV is, just a better and a bigger draw than Maxine Dupree. And that's no offense to Maxine Dupree. It's Becky Lynch we're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. I just find it a little confusing because they talked up Maxine Dupree so much, right? Just, training with Natalya, doing all this, going to the dungeon. And she, like you said, she's done better. We were talking about her being the worst wrestler in the WWE, and now we're like, okay, she was a legitimate championship contender. And I think people forget she's still really young. She's only 28. So, she's in sports term, supposed to be entering the prime of her career on there. But you're 100% correct. Becky Lynch is the Intercontinental Champion. And the feud that they want to print for that belt is AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch. So whether it's Royal Rumble buildup, which is only 3 weeks away now or something like that. Because it's January 31st. Yes.
Okay.
31 days in January, right?
And you convinced me.
Yeah. I think yes.
Yeah, Saturday, January 31st.
Yep. And all that stuff. So they have 3 weeks, and AJ Lee's been absent, but she's cost her the last one. She beat her, at WrestlePalooza, all that stuff. So that's kind of the big money there. But they could still do a lot of things in between there with Becky Lynch and that Intercontinental Champion before they eventually have somebody else come around.
We'll move on from that to the Usos promo challenging all comers and claiming to be the greatest of all time in the tag team division. Not much there. Usos making an appearance. Stephanie McCurr kind of saying the same thing, actually, right after the Usos promo. But she did so limping to the ring. Her foot was in a walking boot. This allowed Raquel Rodriguez to take advantage from out of nowhere, brutalizing and attacking her ankle. Adam Pearce, the assist in some of the referees, had to come out and stop the assault. But it didn't ultimately stop. Rodriguez would attack again backstage. We talked about this too, now kind of circling in, get more heat on Raquel Rodriguez going after Stephanie McCurr. This is just kind of exciting, new, both characters. Raquel Rodriguez has been long enough, but I think her character is in a better spot than it's ever been. And they had, you had Nikki Bella in there.
Yeah.
And it felt like, okay, and kind of giving her return and her chance at it. But it did feel like, okay, I'd rather see the two of these fight, and I think we're getting to the two of these fighting.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the Stephanie McCurr injury, I think it's a legit sprained ankle. And they're so, as the athlete that we are, we've had plenty of sprained ankles, and we know those aren't always easy. But this is the feud we wanted to see, so it'll be fun to see what they do here on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into the next match. Then was Liv Morgan's first match in about 7 months against Lyra Valkyria. Roxanne Perez and Bayley there at ringside. In fact, Roxanne Perez attacked Bayley. Bayley kind of did the character snap and chased her out of the ring with a steel chair. Distraction, though, allowed Morgan to catch Valkyria with the Oblivion for the win. No sign of ring rust for Liv Morgan. So all sorts of kind of exciting movement going on there. These teams are going to continue to battle. I don't think this is the end of this at all. Of course, Liv Morgan returning to the ring. It's all fresh there. And Bayley's multiple personality character. It's kind of interesting because a lot of times they'll do something, kind of set it up and run with it for a little bit, never get to what you would think is the peak of it, and then just kind of go away from it. Not that they've completely gone away from it, but they kind of, it's like every other week. All right, now Bayley's crazy character is going to kind of come out and she's going to start being mean and call everybody an idiot. And so I'm still interested. I think there's a lot there. Obviously, still interested in Roxanne Perez and everything that she's got going on with Liv Morgan and the Judgment Day. And then, Lyra Valkyria is great in the ring too. So lots more to go on in this. So this is just kind of the first chapter of this story, I believe, but a good starting point.
Yeah, I agree so as well. And, I agree. It's very confusing what they're doing with Bayley, but I think eventually it's got to pay off for something, right? I mean, they kind of do spend a lot of time on it. She has like 1 or 2 segments every Raw. It feels like for the past like 3 months on something like this. But how about Lyra Valkyria, who was once the like golden, the golden egg or golden goose for the WWE, has now, she loses matches a lot. She's the one on the team that takes the pins, and I don't know. I mean, we never got understood all of the hype of that, especially the bird thing.
Bird lady,
that always kind of got us. But now they're kind of just throwing her off to the side. And it's funny how we talked about Roxanne Perez and Lyra were the two that we were like they went the wrong way. It took a while, but Roxanne Perez is kind of the one that's on the up, and Lyra is just the one that's kind of stale.
Yeah, we'll see. But I do like it. Even for Lyra Valkyria. Again, don't initially love anybody just kind of coming in and being handed all that she was, because I felt like, okay, we need to kind of see a character. These are the type of feuds and storylines you can kind of build a character, right? If Bayley intentionally, at some point turns on Lyra Valkyria, and we've seen their friendship, and they're building it up long enough. Okay, now I'm interested in that again, right? So I think it's altogether good for the character of Lyra Valkyria, and we'll see if she continues with Bird Lady down the line. World Heavyweight Championship match, CM Punk and Braun Breaker. Of course, they've been building up to this for a long time. Paul Heyman has held off Braun Breaker on several chances to attack and saying, okay, you're going to get your opportunity here. And so this is what we had. Kind of interesting. I mean, the Visions, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, and Austin Theory attempted to interfere. Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, and Penta making the save. All the, kind of fighting the heels out of the arena. Needed, probably not. A little bit weird. I mean, CM Punk, is he going to be a luchador by the end of this? I'm not really sure. So it's a little bit odd. And you expected, of course, the Vision to get involved. But almost could have done without that, in my opinion. In any case, Paul Heyman also attempted to make a distraction that did not work as well. After a hard-fought match with plenty of near falls, Punk did eventually catch Breaker with a knee to the face as he was attempting the spear, and then delivered one last GTS for the win. Breaker, as you put, is put over without going over, right? Yeah. Didn't get the win, but obviously doesn't lose a whole lot in facing CM Punk and even surviving a GTS at one point during this match. But I'm gonna be interested to see, as the Vision has kind of had these opportunities. Remember, Bronson Reed got a championship match in the middle of this, and just on one random episode at one time. Is there going to be any focus kind of changing toward anybody, or is Braun Breaker still kind of the biggest factor in that group right now?
I think he still is, but it's interesting, having the Logan Paul, kind of guys like that. Even Austin Theory, who knows, what he was maybe going to be given for the interference to help out the Survivor Series and everything. But I think it's still going to be Braun Breaker. I mean, we've been talking about him for a while now, his Intercontinental Championship days, even before then. Now would be kind of a good time to, if it's not CM Punk, go to the other brand and, have him do, with one of those champs. But I fully expect him to be in the championship running for WrestleMania. Yeah,
I do too. And again, it's going to be fun if they don't make it obvious who's going to win the Royal Rumble this year, because there could be all sorts of decisions that they could make. And who knows, maybe Jey Uso will win again.
No.
All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We've got a big 3 hours of SmackDown to talk again. We've already talked about the championship match there, but it was a good show outside of that as well. And we can get to that here in just a few minutes here on Nuclear Heat.
Winter is just around the corner. Is your vehicle ready? Don't get left out in the cold. At A1 Automotive, we prep your car for whatever winter throws your way here in Nebraska. For battery checks, brake inspections, tires, heaters, whatever your car needs to keep you and your family safe on the road, we've got you covered. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes. Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Big value and big flavor meet at Wings and Rings thanks to the all-new delicious Duo Combo. This is the one you've been waiting for. Get one half-sized appetizer and 2 entrees with a side for only $19.99. Bring a friend for the best deal in town on any day of the week, during game time, or whenever the heck you want. Their made-to-order wings and chicken sandwiches are waiting for you at their 68th and O and 40th and Old Cheney locations. Stop by Wings and Rings and celebrate every day with the best meal deal in town.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sartor Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sartorheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
It's basketball season, and Salt Mine City is your pregame and postgame headquarters in the Haymarket for craft beers and great food. Get ready for the game with their big, fatty 7-ounce hamburger or try a Reuben sandwich served on Blackstone rye bread. And don't forget their beef or chicken nachos with guacamole, sour cream, jalapenos, and more. Wash it down with one of their 12 beers on tap, including the popular Single Axle Light American Lager. Salt Mine City, your basketball headquarters, now open at 2 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 11 a.m. Friday through Sunday at 8th and R.
Sometimes good people make mistakes. When you find yourself in need of an attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court and protect your freedom to get you the best possible outcome and the justice you deserve. Trust your freedom to Liberty Law Group, the best criminal attorneys in Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Yes, we are back to talk some SmackDown here now, Friday Night SmackDown from over the weekend. And once again, as Augie said earlier in the show, it was pre-recorded and a little bit spoiled for me too. I did say, I opened up Twitter, it said "and new," and I shut it down really quick. And I thought, oh man, there's no way they did it. So I was able to completely avoid the spoiler, but I knew in the back of my head that it was definitely there. In any case, we already talked about, again, that main event with Drew McIntyre taking the belt off of Cody Rhodes, by far the biggest thing that happened on SmackDown, but not the only thing. So we can get to some of these segments as we wrap up the show. Opened up with Randy Orton and Trick Williams interrupting the legend. Williams said it was 2026, not 2006. So he's going up and trying to take on the biggest, baddest guy in the locker room, right?
Yeah.
As expected, this kind of did eventually get into a fight. Trick Williams knocking the microphone out of Randy Orton's hand. Might have hit a fan. There was a lot of speculation on whether it did or not. And then Orton attacking Williams. The Miz comes out of nowhere to attack Orton, who, remember, Orton RKO'd the previous week, but Randy Orton gets the finisher RKO on the Miz as well. Interesting, because Trick Williams had a match with Rey Fenix, and in fact won that match against Rey Fenix. I need to wait for the spoiler, so maybe kind of covering up here. But you want your new, I mean, the new guy challenging Randy Orton's one thing. The new guy getting punked by Randy Orton, and then Randy Orton also taking out another guy. Like, I love me some Randy Orton more than anybody, but I don't know if this was needed.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am with that. Like, they could have a little bit of interaction, but you don't need Randy Orton coming, on. Randy Orton's established, one of the best, of this generation. And Trick Williams is supposed to be one of the guys, right? His athleticism is crazy, all that stuff. He's a big NXT guy. And you have him just getting RKO'd and punked on by Randy Orton. Like you said, I just don't think that's needed.
Yeah. And again, I have Trick Williams beating Rey Fenix, got a lot of offense in. Of course, Phoenix is really good when he's able to show it off. But he's really fallen into a spot where I expect him to lose now. And that's kind of sad, because I liked Rey Fenix when he joined in the again, he's just really interesting and unique in the ring. But I don't know. They're going to have to do something with his character as well. Speaking of that, we then go to Julia and Alexa Bliss. Now, this was kind of interesting. Bliss was solo this week because Charlotte Flair was sick. And so she didn't have anybody out there to help her. Of course, Julia was going to have Kiana James, who distracted the ref at one point in time as well. So as you can imagine, Alexa Bliss took her out. But surprisingly, Last Legend shows up, interferes out of nowhere, shoving Bliss off the top ropes, allowing Julia to hit the Northern Lights suplex for the win. And once again, the crowd does not go crazy. Jackson Legend then destroy Bliss after Julia and James had left. So it looks like we're going to get Jackson Legend going up against Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Again, all these different these combinations battling it out. They want the tag team championship, but maybe this can kind of be a side feud while Rhea Ripley and Io Sky are kind of doing their thing on the other show. But yeah, so it kind of altogether interesting. Obviously, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss. I don't know if they're going to tease frustration there. But Julia with her first title defense against a 5-time champ.
Yeah, and I mean WWE had the golden opportunity to give this to Alexa Bliss and have the U.S. champ have a breath of fresh air, right? Because like you said, Julia just she doesn't even get a reaction overseas. That is bad. When overseas crowd normally are tremendous, they're amazing, right? They pop for everybody. Ray Phoenix was getting Ray Phoenix chants, you know, and all that stuff, but Julia wasn't getting anything. You know, she just it's just not working there. And if you know, I know the distraction, but it could have been Nia and Lash came out when she won it, you know, and attacked her there, and then you'd have a fun, you know, they're going up against, you know, Alexa and Charlotte, but then Charlotte and Alexa could have clashed over the title, you know, a little bit. And I don't know, you just could have done a lot. And because Julia and the US title felt secondary to all of this, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. WWE, they had an opportunity to have Alexa Bliss, kind of like Becky Lynch, have the secondary title and raise it up, and they chose not to do that for some reason.
They're going to make Julia happen one way or the other, but I just don't think forcing it down, you know, forcing it on us is the way to go.
She is the worst version of Lyra Valkyria when she first came in, and that is bad. That is bad company to be in.
Yeah, and but I mean, again, at least Lyra Valkyria people were woo, you know. Julia, you just don't have anything to really work with here. And again, they gave her Kiana James. I don't know if Kiana James is getting any better out of this. We'll see. I just feel like they need something for those characters to be interesting, and they have not found that yet. Backstage moments from the show as well. I wanted to mention before getting into all the matches, McIntyre and Damon Priest had a short confrontation backstage, so maybe that's down the line. Matt Cardona let Cody know that he wants to go after the title. Of course, we found out later Matt Cardona in the tournament to try to get there. Gargano also attacked Nathan Frazier backstage while pretending to be Axiom with the mask that he stole. So I thought that was entertaining. Again, this is a perfect example of guys I don't think necessarily have a whole lot in their character going on. You kind of put, you know, at least put the mask thing in there, a little bit of trickery. Okay, I'm not saying it's the first thing I'm going to turn on and the reason I'm tuning in to SmackDown, but I think it, you know, helps their characters out a little bit, makes me interested in kind of seeing what's next here.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, I thought it was fun. You know, we've talked about the whole Axiom, you know, all that stuff, and to have something like this, you know, like we say, TV time is better than no TV time, right? And if you can even be a funny guy act, you know, look at R-Truth, look at how far it's brought him. You can do that, make a career out of it. You're set for life.
Yeah. We also had the much anticipated MFTs versus the Wyatt Six. Solo Sikoa, Talatanga, and Tamatonga and Tangaloa were out there against Uncle Howdy, Joey Gacy, Eric Rowan, and Dexter Loomis. It's kind of interesting too, because, you know, as this match, again, not everything is for the adult guy that's going to be breaking down the wrestling, right? So not everything is necessarily for us. Some things are for the kids. Some things are for, you know, like you said, comedy. Some of it's, so everybody's got to cut their favorite type of wrestling. And I'm just, you know, sitting back and looking at this generation of kind of supernatural wrestling compared to our own. Of course, The Undertaker, all that sort of stuff falls a little bit short. But as they were playing the, you know, they were kind of bringing these guys in and playing the promos for the match. My 4-year-old son's in there. He's terrified. He's running out of the room. He's getting scared every time they're throwing on the Wyatt Six kind of promos and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I can give a little bit of leeway to this. But obviously, this is far from over. Sikoa uses the lantern to draw Uncle Howdy's attention away from the ring, allowing Tamatonga to hit his finisher and get the win for the team. Just very interesting in that Uncle Howdy is always the one taking pins in this group, and I do not understand that one bit whatsoever.
I don't either. You know, he's supposed to be, you know, the Fiend 2.0, you know, essentially, and, you know, all that stuff in the Fiend. I mean, you know, did all that stuff, and yeah, he's the leader of the group. The leader is normally not the one that gets a pin. Like I said, I threw this out a couple months ago. Unless you're gonna like off, you know, the Wyatt Six and then bring them back supernaturally, this doesn't make sense, because, you know, your leader, and of your faction is the guy taking the pins. It doesn't make sense to me. They don't generally do that, and I don't know why they're doing it with the group that they failed, but started off with so much potential.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, you get the Fireflies. I think people are always excited to at least remember Bray Wyatt in the past there. But again, Uncle Howdy, which was, I don't know where that was going. Of course, this got all kind of Bray Wyatt's ideas and stuff like that, and we never got the payoff to it. But I was always kind of questioning it from the beginning because it's like the big mask character and all that sort of stuff, and his name's Uncle Howdy. Like, how are we going to get to the delivery here? And of course, they don't have Bray Wyatt's vision on it, and they're struggling with it, right? And so, Bray, Uncle Howdy, for what he is feeling more and more like Bo Dallas than anything else, which is they had to stay away from completely. But that's where they are here. Again, this is far from over. I'm sure they'll get a win. Hopefully, maybe they'll get a win here or two against the MFTs before this is done. But one way or the other, I think we'll see plenty more of these two groups fighting each other. Alba Fire then faced Jordan Grace. This was after Chelsea Green and Alba Fire had a bit of a backstage brouhaha, I suppose, with Jordan Grace, at least of words. In any case, Chelsea Green distracted the ref while Grace was trying to pin her opponent. So Jordan Grace then picked up Alba Fire and threw her off the apron. So I thought that was kind of funny. Or threw her at Chelsea Green and then got the rack bomb for the win. So this was pretty quick. The crowd, even, like you said, overseas crowd usually into it, didn't know Jordan Grace. So I think that kind of hurt a little bit there. But Jade Gargill came out to talk trash to Jordan Grace. They might push this pretty quickly. Again, two very muscular women here in the division. But it would be pretty quick for Jordan Grace to get pushed that far. And again, I just don't know if the WWE universe is ready for it.
Yeah, I also, and it's also Jade Cargill coming out to talk to her, right? Like that's the interesting part. You think Jordan would be the one going out and everything, but nope, that's not the way they're going with it. And Bianca's the one going out there, and she's the one challenging people for the title. Yeah,
it kind of strange.
Yeah,
and again, we talked about too in the past, WWE's being reliant on the B word, which we can't say on radio. But that's kind of her thing right now. She is that B. Gunther's throwing around, and it's just like, okay, again, if you use it too much, it takes away from the other part of it.
Yeah.
So, again, you're just using the word a little bit too much, but that's what they're going with for now. The only other match, Carmelo Hayes and Shinsuke Nakamura, both these guys baby faces at this point in their career, which is kind of interesting because Shinsuke, kind of last time we saw him was a heel, and since his return, the announcers are just like forgetting that. They're like, yeah, he's one of the greatest. So he just, whatever, I guess you move off of it. Great match, as these open challenges always are, being able to show off some of the best in the locker room. Melo was ultimately able to counter the Kinshasa with the first 48 before hitting a dive bomb for the win. Shinsuke lifts Carmelo's hand, so a good way to get Carmelo over again. This is a guy that they've been trying to push unsuccessfully for a while, and now turned babyface, and he's definitely got some momentum behind him now.
Yeah, he's got momentum. I mean, most definitely he's not, number one draft pick worthy, but they're building him to the fact where he's the guy that's getting cheered. When he was in the last time is now tournament, he was the guy getting cheered. So that's, they're making strides with him.
Yeah, and we'll see. And I just fear, I don't know what's next for Shinsuke, but sometimes he gets lost. But they can always use him like they did here, bring him out for a pop every couple weeks, and we'll see if they've got anything truly for his character down the line. But once again, the best news from this week, Drew McIntyre is the champion over Cody Rhodes. A bit of a change. We'll see how long it lasts. We'll see what's next for both those guys this week, and we'll talk about it next week on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next Sunday.